So, hi, Christina, and thank you for joining me for this talk ahead of the Contemporary Art Days Summit, which this year will take place in Värnamo and Jönköping in Sweden, as well as other places in the region of Jönköping. And this year we're going to talk about what sustainability is for art organizations in the contemporary art field in Sweden. And we thought we should bring in some examples from our Nordic neighbors. And to prepare the conversations at the summit, we are publishing a couple of film talks with Nordic organizations, touching upon how things work elsewhere. So could you say a few words about the Sami Council where you work?
Thank you for inviting me into this conversation. The Sami Council is an NGO, ideal organization for all Sami organizations, main organizations, a member organization on Norwegian, Sweden, Finnish, and when the world is more normal, Russian side. So we are today the only we work across the borders as the Sami people is one people across borders. My role is the head of the cultural unit, which has been an important unit since the beginning in 1956. So we are a quite old Sami organization. And I think the importance of the cultural unit has been so essential because the Sami culture is the base of the Sami living. And we define culture and art from a Sami perspective as a holistic practice where life and art and creative practices and land and water are intertwined.
Could you be more specific as to which organizations do exist and go in a little bit on how it looks when it comes to the higher education or the lack thereof, and a bit more specifically how things look?
So the contemporary art field in Sápmi is quite young. Even the word taita, which means art in Sami, was created in the 70s. So that kind of explains that the contemporary Sami art world is quite a youngster, and also because the Sami has been seen as the Sami art world has been seen as part of the different Nordic contemporary art fields. We do not have gotten the resources to build our own structures. So there are infrastructures for contemporary art in Sápmi available, but they are Norwegian, Finnish, or Swedish infrastructures. The infrastructure that we do have is organizations such as Taitadallo, Artistic Network. We have Sami museums that are important, both on Norwegian, Swedish, and Finnish side. We have the Contemporary Art Center on Norwegian side. And we have some other organizations but that are working with a few resources.
Could you briefly compare the different structures for Sami contemporary art in the different Nordic countries?
Yes, and I could give a very good example. Viewing at the Sami parliament's cultural budgets, we have 3 Sami parliaments, one on Norwegian side, Swedish and Finnish side. And looking at the different cultural budgets, there are quite big differences. On Norwegian side, the Sami parliament has approximately 150 million in the cultural budget. That also includes institutions. On Swedish side, they have approximately 18 million. And on Finnish side, they have approximately 3 million, but they have just been warned about reduces of the budget. If you are a Sami growing up on Norwegian side, growing up to be an artist, that you have better conditions for development and sustainability than if you were to grow up on Finnish and Swedish side. And I think that's quite harmful for both a art field, a common art field, but also a people that we have so big differences in artists' conditions. And obviously we would wish that when building an infrastructure for the Sami art field that is one common field across borders, the infrastructure would have been built from our point of view, how we see the borders that are not existing at the same way as the colonial borders do today.
What would you say are the factors that led to stronger structures for Sami contemporary art in Norway, beyond the obvious that Norway is richer than the rest?
Yeah, which is of course also an important reason. We know that on the Swedish and Finnish side, the cultural budget in overall are now being reduced. So the situation for the cultural field on a national level is also now getting harder on Swedish and Finnish side. But there is also a difference in there is a different recognition of rights. Norway has incorporated ILO 169 into their laws. Swedish and Finnish side has not done that, and the ILO convention is the convention about indigenous peoples. We see also that the recognition of Sami as indigenous, having a self-determination, is much weaker on Swedish and Finnish side. So there's a bigger expectation that the existing infrastructure should also support the Sami field in a sufficient way. Mm-hmm. That expectation is also on Norwegian side, but we see a growing knowledge within the cultural authorities, hopefully a change in the wind for acknowledgement of Sami as an indigenous peoples. We have some really good examples to show for instance, this week, Bokmässan in Gothenburg have 2 themes, Sápmi and the universe. And all of Sápmi are going to Gothenburg this week to fill the book fair's arena. only some few years ago, Office for Contemporary Art on Norwegian side transferred the whole Nordic pavilion into a Sami pavilion, creating a massive attention towards contemporary art, Sami contemporary art, and our festivals are also reporting that there is a huge interest for Sami artists and a huge need for support, Sami support. At the same time, we are getting funding, but it's not as ambitious as the Sami art field has a potential for. What we do lack is the possibility to decide ourselves about how our artistic practices should develop. A main question within the Sami art world is today, I think, that who is really developing our creative and artistic practices? Is it ourselves, or is it the majority community and the infrastructure surrounding the contemporary art, the contemporary art field in the majority societies? Last week, we gathered in Jokkmokk on Swedish side for the 5th Kultur Sámi, which is our one and only meeting place for the Sami art and culture field, where we meet across genres and national borders. And our discussions very often are about how our practices are changing. The traditional knowledge is not moving from one generation to another longer. How Lohti, our vocal tradition, is now more language from a scene somewhere, rather than internal communication. And we are raising that question, that who is developing our creative practices, and have a big need to be able to do so ourselves. But obviously we are standing there with a hat in our hands each year asking for a bit more money, please, so we can do so we can have a art field on equal terms as the Nordic countries have their art fields.
You mentioned earlier the differences in conditions of working as a Sami artist within the borders of the different Nordic countries. What does it mean that there are stronger structures for Sami contemporary art in Norway?
I guess it means that Sami contemporary art might be more visible on Norwegian side and more available for everyone. Our art and cultural institutions and infrastructure is important for the Sami, but recently we had a report being made on Norwegian side, which might be interesting to talk about now. It was made in collaboration between the Sami Council, the Sami Parliament on Norwegian side, and Art Council Norway. The question was, we asked different Norwegian art and culture institutions about how much they work with Sami art and culture, how much they included in their program, etc. And we asked also Sami organizations, institutions, festivals, how much they collaborate with national institutions and what that collaboration looked like. And the main findings were very interesting, and they confirm the big and growing interest in Sami contemporary art and culture. But they also confirm that there is a huge lack of knowledge and within the national institutions, and that the Sami institutions are really important in the collaboration. So Sami institutions, they work both as curators, translators, gate openers, and that many national institutions said that they cannot include Sami content in their work without the Sami institutions. At the same time, we know that so that's of course that tells a lot about the importance of Sami institutions also for the majority society. But at the same time, we know, and the report also confirmed, that the Sami institutions are overworked and underfinanced. And that is a huge structural challenge, and not only for the Sami art and contemporary or Sami art and culture field, but also for the majority society.
I get the feeling that in Sweden, working with Sami contemporary art is, or actually taking in Sami culture is something that is a concern in the north, but it's not something that is relevant so much in the southern part of Sweden. So that's why I was thinking. So it's interesting to hear your reflections. But let's see.
Yeah, and I think you are right that we see a difference within the different Nordic countries. That Norway maybe are a bit further down the road in including the Sami contemporary field, and contemporary art. But at the same time, we also see that there is development also on Swedish and Finnish side, and that they can inspire each other in this work, and we see that when they include Sami art, especially when it's done with the Sami art field or our institutions, that it's a success.
What issues are on the table now which could strengthen structures for Sami contemporary art in the Nordic countries, and in particular in Sweden, would you say?
We need ambitious funding to match the growing potential for Sami contemporary art. And the Sami art field has, for a long time, talked about one common Sami art and cultural fund that is Sami-led, and that is ambitious enough to actually support the field on the field's terms. So obviously, finance, the money is obviously a big need and a big subject. But we also need more knowledge. Knowledge is power, and today we have almost no research statistic or such that gives us more knowledge about the Sami art field and what their terms are for development. So that is of course important, and it's important in building an understanding towards the national art and cultural authorities. What we also need is an acknowledgement that we are one common field across 4 national borders, and that we need to be supported as one common field in order to develop on our own premises.
Thank you, Christina, and good luck in Gothenburg.
Thank you. Kiitos.